Okay, let me paint a picture for you guys. It's 2011, and you probably remember Bulletstorm as this incredibly stupid, crass, lowbrow shooter that your parents definitely didn't want you playing. EA published it, and they literally had no idea how to sell it to people. And instead of marketing it based on how fun the gameplay was, they just leaned all the way into jokes and cheap laughs. But anyways, if you're new here, I basically spend my spare time looking back at older titles, hidden gems, and even disasters to see how they hold up today, or if they're better left in the past. No fast cuts, no screams, no memes, just a chill vibe where we look at games from a modern lens. If that's something that interests you, then please stick around and subscribe. Okay, so let's look back at Bulletstorm, a game that was heavily misunderstood, criminally underrated, and I believe was screwed over by its own marketing.
What the hell operation were you sacks running down here?
It's complicated. Needed to assess the severity of the situation. Establish a green zone.
Look, not to be a dick here, but if your entire squad couldn't hold off these geeks, Final Echo ain't for shit.
Okay, first up, the narrative. And don't worry, I'm not gonna spoil any major twists for you guys. I want you to experience it yourself if you haven't already. But I gotta say, the narrative in this game is actually way better than it has any right to be. On the surface, it looks like a dumb, juvenile joke. Yes, there are curse words flying around every 2 seconds, people are getting kicked in the nuts, and there are more jokes than a high school locker room. But beneath all that crass humor, it's actually a pretty dark and a tragic story. You play as Grayson Hunt. He's not your typical squeaky clean video game hero. To be honest, he's actually a massive screw-up. He's a space pirate, he's constantly drunk on cheap booze, and he's driven entirely by rage and a thirst for revenge. He used to be part of this elite Black Ops assassination squad called Dead Echo, which was run by the Confederation of Planets. But things went south, he realized he was just being used to do some genuinely evil, and he went rogue. The game kicks off when Grayson, heavily intoxicated, decides it would be a brilliant idea to ram his tiny pirate ship directly into a heavily armed flagship of General Victor Serrano. Serrano is, without a doubt, one of the most memorable, unapologetically evil, and creatively foul-mouthed villains in video game history. Because of Grayson's drunken suicide mission, both ships end up crash landing on a planet called Stygia. This crash basically sets the tone for the entire game. He got almost all of his friends killed because of his own stupidity, and his best friend Ishisato is so badly mangled in the crash that they have to rebuild him as a cyborg just to keep him alive. I believe this is where the narrative starts to shine, because the dynamic between Grayson and Ishii is fantastic. Grayson is dealing with massive amounts of guilt for getting his crew killed and ruining Ishii's life. Meanwhile, Ishii is constantly battling the AI inside his brain that's trying to take over his humanity. It gives the story this surprisingly emotional anchor. You're running around kicking people into meat grinders, sure, but underneath it all, it's a story about a guy realizing he's a massive piece of shit and trying to take some responsibility for his actions.
Way to spend an afternoon! Come on, keep moving!
You picked a real peach of a world to crash on, boss.
And as you try to survive on this hostile planet and find a way off, you run into Trishka Novak. Trishka is awesome. She's this incredibly lethal, tough-as-nails survivor who leads a local gang on the planet. And she doesn't take any crap from Grayson, and she can handle herself just fine in a firefight. The banter between Grayson, Ishii, and Trishka is pure gold. It's packed with swearing, insults, and genuine LOL moments. The writing knows exactly what kind of B-tier sci-fi action flick it's trying to be, and it absolutely nails it. But for me, the best part about the story is how Grayson literally can't stop making things worse. It's like a game about screwing up. Every time Grayson tries to do something helpful, it ends in total disaster. There's one part where you smash these giant alien eggs just to clear a path, and it turns out you just pissed off a colossal monster that hunts you down later. There's another part where someone tells Grayson to be quiet, he ignores them, and he immediately triggers an enemy ambush. So you aren't playing as some super soldier saving the world. You're quite literally playing as a walking disaster who's trying to survive the consequences of his own terrible decisions. The only negative thing I'll say about the story is that the ending feels a bit rushed and weak. Without giving too much away, the final boss encounter relies heavily on a quick time event, which is a massive letdown for a game with such incredible combat. Plus, they clearly wrote it hoping for a sequel which never happened, so some threads are left hanging. But the journey to get there, absolute perfection.
Let's finish it.
Okay, moving on to visuals and the art style. If you remember gaming in 2011, you know how every single shooter looked like it had a dirty camera lens smeared in Vaseline. Everything was brown, grey and depressing. Gears of War, Call of Duty, Resistance, they all looked like mud. Well, Bulletstorm took one look at that trend and said, "F that." This game is gorgeous, bright and incredibly colorful. So you're trapped on this planet Stygia, which used to be like some luxurious resort for the ultra-rich. Think of it like LA mixed with Dubai but built on an alien world. But the planet was abandoned, and now it has been completely overrun by mutated plants, feral gangs, and radioactive freaks. And because of this setup, the environments are completely insane. One minute you're fighting through an overgrown botanical garden, and the next in some ruined entertainment district. You also go through these subterranean cave systems, and you fight across cliffside villas with incredible vistas in the background. The world building here is top-notch. It really feels like a cohesive place that just went completely to hell. And look, we gotta talk about the sheer scale of the set pieces in this game. The devs weren't afraid to go big. The absolute pinnacle of this is the Hecaton fight. So remember those eggs Grayson smashed that I mentioned earlier? Well, the mommy comes looking for you, and it's this gargantuan Godzilla-sized monster called the Hecaton. It kinda looks a bit like the kaiju orga from the Godzilla movies, and it's absolutely massive. The game then puts you in the gunner seat of a helicopter, and you're flying through a crumbling city while this titanic beast is literally tearing skyscrapers apart with its bare hands. You're firing a minigun at it, blowing up red explosive barrels all over the environment, and shooting down enemy gyrocopters while the beast swats at you. It's pure cinematic adrenaline. And the fact a game from 2011 can still deliver that kind of scale and visual flair in 2026 is honestly incredible.
There is no time.
Okay, let's get into the absolute meat and potatoes of Bulletstorm, the gameplay. If you try to play it like a COD game, you're gonna have a bad time, and frankly, you're playing it wrong. If you just hide behind cover and shoot guys in the chest with an assault rifle, the game's gonna feel boring as f***. The entire game's built around what I like to call the holy trinity of movement. First, you have the energy leash, which is like a laser lasso mounted on your left wrist. You can use it to grab an enemy from like 30 feet away and pull them towards you. Second, you have the kick, and this isn't just a normal melee attack. Grayson kicks like a damn superhuman. If you kick a guy, he goes flying backward at Mach speed. And third, you have the slide. There's no jump button in this game, which is kinda weird at first, but it makes sense once you start playing. Instead of jumping, you just sprint and slide. But here's the brilliant part. Whenever you leash, kick, or slide into a guy, they get launched into the air with a slow-mo effect. And this is your window of opportunity to figure out exactly how you want to ruin this poor bastard's day. Do you want to blast him with a shotgun? Do you want to kick him into a giant rotating fan? Or do you want to leash a second guy and smash them together? The mechanics are incredibly fluid, and linking together slides, kicks, and leashes feels absolutely incredible. And all of this ties directly into this skill shot system. So, basically the game rewards you with points for killing enemies in the most creative, sadistic, and destructive ways possible. The game tracks like 135 completely different skill shots. And the points you earn act as currency to buy ammo and weapon upgrades at drop kits scattered around the map. And look, these skill shots are actually pretty fun. A basic headshot is fine, but why do that when you can get the mercy skill shot? That's when you shoot a guy in the nuts, wait for him to grab his crotch in agony, and then kick his head off. Then there's the rear entry skill shot where you shoot a guy in the bum. And if an enemy is running away, you can shoot him in the legs to trip him, which gets you the tripwire skill shot. The environment plays a huge role too. You can kick a guy into a hot dog cart, which gets you the fast food skill shot. Or shoot the cart so it blows up and kills him, giving you the sausage fest skill shot. And if you manage to kill multiple people at the same time with a skill shot, your points get multiplied exponentially. But here's the catch. The game hates it when you do the same thing over and over. If you just spam the same move, you get fewer and fewer points. It forces you to constantly mix up your weapons and your attacks. And it all works so well here.
Strange biological composition.
Idiot! Get away from that!
What the hell is that?
Of course, you can't have a good shooter without good guns. And the weapons here are top tier too. You can only carry 3 weapons at a time, which forces you to make some tough choices at the drop kits. Also, you don't really upgrade the stats of the weapons. Instead, you spend your points to unlock a charged shot for each gun, which is basically an alternate firing mode. So let's break down the arsenal because it's awesome. First, you have your standard Peacemaker carbine. It's your basic assault rifle, and Grayson uses it in all the cutscenes. Then you have the Screamer. This is a heavy revolver that packs a massive punch. Next is the flail gun. This thing is brilliant. It shoots 2 grenades connected by a chain. Then we have the Bone Duster. It's a massive shotgun with 4 barrels. It's strictly for close range, and its charged shot fires all 4 barrels at the exact same time. It creates a wall of concussive force that just deletes anything standing in front of you. My personal favorite and the craziest gun in the game is the Headhunter sniper rifle. When you fire this gun, the camera actually attaches to the bullet. Time slows down, and you get to manually steer the bullet through the air directly into a guy's eyeball. It's insanely satisfying. There's also the Bouncer, which is a big cannon that shoots explosive bouncy balls. Finally, the Penetrator. It shoots these big spinning drill bits. You fire it and it pins an enemy to the wall. Honestly, the variety here is just staggering. Every single weapon feels distinct and serves a completely different purpose for getting those high scores. So how long is this bloody roller coaster? Well, the main campaign will take you roughly 8 hours to beat. It doesn't overstay its welcome. I feel like first-person shooter campaigns are getting shorter every year, so 8 hours of no-filler action here is fine. The pacing is pretty good too. The first couple of hours are a bit slow while the game teaches you all the mechanics. But once you get about halfway through and unlock most of the guns, the game kicks into high gear and becomes a non-stop adrenaline rush. However, we need to talk about the difficulty because I have some serious bones to pick with it. Like if you play it on the harder difficulties, I feel the game kinda breaks its own rules. See, the game wants you to stand out in the open, sliding around, taking your time to line up crazy combo shots. But on hard mode, you take damage incredibly fast. And the biggest problem is that almost every single enemy in the game uses hit scan weapons. For those who don't know, hit scan means the bullet instantly hits you the moment the enemy fires. There's no projectile travel time, so you can't physically dodge the bullets. You die so fast that you can't afford to f around and experiment. You eventually end up behind cover and kill enemies in boring, routine ways just to survive, which completely ruins the whole point of the game. It's super frustrating, and then there's the ending. Again, no spoilers, but the final boss fight with Serrano is a massive letdown. After 8 hours of chaining together insane combat moves, the final fight boils down to a simple quick-time event. And the ending was clearly written as bait for a sequel, leaving a bunch of plot threads unresolved. Which really sucks, considering what happened to the franchise. So, if the game is this incredibly fun, unique, and well-made, why are we talking about it like a forgotten relic? Why didn't we get like 5 crazy sequels? Well, because from a business perspective, it was considered a failure. Don't get me wrong, it sold like 2 million copies, a really solid number for a brand new IP. But EA just wanted Call of Duty numbers. They wanted a massive blockbuster, and 2 million just wasn't enough. Plus, they released a really terrible demo before the game came out that completely failed to show off how fun the gameplay actually was. They marketed it as a dumb, juvenile game, and it turned a lot of people off. And because of all this, they completely pulled the plug on Bulletstorm 2. The devs were actually already in the pre-production phase, ready to make an awesome sequel. But Bulletstorm 2 remains a dream. So does it hold up today? Look, if you're a fan of first-person shooters, you absolutely need to play this game. It's a solid B-tier game that shines brighter than most AAA games coming out today. It's chaotic, it's beautiful, and has an incredible amount of heart beneath all the blood and cursing. Anyways, that's my look back at Bulletstorm. Thank you guys so much for sticking around. Let me know what you think about the game, and I'll catch you in the next one.